Hello, everyone. We are back on the Orange Visuals podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. Her tagline is Service and Sunshine. And talking with her before this, you could see it, Christina Cameron or Tina Cameron.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And today's episode, we want to dive into her career. She's been a new realtor, has had your license since 2020, right?
Right.
And it's just diving in, seeing how has she been able to take off and how has her life built to this moment.
Yeah.
So, Christina, we're excited.
Thank you.
Can you walk us through high school, college? What was your thoughts about real estate? You didn't go into the traditional real estate route of right after college. You went a little bit of a detour.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't dream about real estate growing up. I wasn't raised in that type of environment. I grew up in a small town in Greenville, Ohio, on the west side of the state, and had two older brothers. So I played sports. So sports took me into college, and I studied business. And then, so I took business courses, and then got my MBA later. But really, it got into pharmaceutical sales early on, and spent 10 years in the pharmaceutical space. And then after that, spent time in technology sales. So I knew that my first job out of college was a very technical role. I knew that was not for me. I knew that I was a little too much. I had too much energy for kind of the help desk experience. And so that's when I knew I wanted to get into sales. And that's when pharmaceutical sales opportunities presented.
Mhm. Was there any, I guess, fear of sales when you started off, like maybe cold calling or just talking with people about sales in general? Like, I know there's a fear of getting into that kind of space.
Yeah, I don't think so for me, because I was always so outgoing and exposed to a lot of things growing up. And I think that just that environment of being, I was the youngest of three. So I learned early on that if you wanted to be included, you had to learn how to fit in. And I think that is really what sales is all about, trying to fit in, and just kind of work with other people and what their needs are. So, no, I wasn't afraid of it. I think it was just, it kind of came naturally.
Yeah. Okay. As you're moving on to real estate and now you're fairly successful, what do you think was the biggest lesson that you took from the sales in the past
Yeah.
careers? What was that you could apply to real estate and it's like, wow, I could see how this helped me?
Yeah. So I think that skills are always transferable. And so when you think about just the process of selling, it's consulting, but it's really just, it's about people. So even though I worked for really large companies, Fortune 5, Fortune 20, large pharmaceutical companies, but they're just people. So I had really great training. And I think that they buy from people that they like.
Yeah.
So that likability factor is stronger than any other skill set that you could have. And then you just build on that. So not being afraid to fail is probably one thing. Just you learn to reset, because you can't win every time.
Mhm.
And coming from a strong sales background, it's kind of like that athlete, that mindset of, well, what's next? And being able to let go of not being able to win every time. So I think that those lessons help you in real estate, because real estate is really tough. Nobody gives you anything, and you don't get leads, aren't given to you. And
Yeah.
people don't just show up at your door with a bag of cash. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah. So how did you make that transition into real estate? I mean, you know how difficult it is.
Yes. Yeah, well, I had been traveling nationally selling technology, and COVID hit, and I turned to my husband and said, "I'm gonna get my real estate license," because it had always been something that I'd kept my eye on, kind of a hobby. And we moved 8 times in 25 years, so that's a lot.
Oh. So you guys have dealt with them.
Yeah, so personal experience. And then, so I just said, I'm going to do this. And he said, well, what's your plan? And I said, well, I don't really have a plan. It feels right. The timing feels right. So was licensed in 2020, but I didn't start practicing full time until the spring of 21.
Mhm.
I wanted to just learn the business and kind of start to understand what it was going to take. And then in within that spring, I had to make a decision because I was trying to do 2 jobs at the same time, and it was too much.
Mhm. How did you prepare yourself for your real estate job? Because I look back, I mean, when I started, because I also did sales. When I started in the beginning, and then I look as my career progressed, I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's so much things I would have done differently if I restarted." And for you, it's basically complete reset. Now you are starting from zero
Yeah.
at real estate. How did you prepare yourself? I mean, we could talk about it, but in your first year, you sold 9 million.
Yeah.
That's not just from luck or people walking up to you. You had to come in with a strategy.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was I spent a lot of time at open houses for other people, and I think that there's a stigma around, "Oh, open houses, they don't work," but I will tell you that I meet a new client at almost every open house.
Oh, wow.
So a big part of my business and launching in real estate was strangers, and it turns the model upside down because, every brokerage will say, "You need to work your friends, your sphere of influence, and that's how your network, and that's where you're gonna get your business, and then it'll grow from there." And mine was just the opposite. I started with strangers, and then I've started talking to friends and family. So, I think just not being afraid to put yourself out there and being authentic because people if you are yourself and they see that you're not perfect and you don't know everything, I think that's something else. You can't pretend like you know everything because you really don't.
Mhm.
And just connecting with people. So
How did you establish credibility with prospect clients when you yourself are starting out?
I was scared to death. Like, I was afraid to tell people that I was recently licensed.
Mhm.
And some of that was just I didn't want them to be afraid of not being able to negotiate for them or manage the transaction, but it, it was something I didn't talk about.
Mhm.
And I think strangely enough, my age, I think helped me. So
Okay.
I'm not a young person, so if you look at me, you're like, "Oh, she's older. She's probably been doing this a while." But
Mm.
but, I think that worked in my favor. I think and then just being prepared. I mean, when you sit down with somebody, you get a vibe. You get a
Yeah.
vibe about people, and if they're prepared, I mean, I use data, so it's not just, poppies and kittens all the
Yeah.
time. Like, I have a hammer and I'll use it. So, I think people you build trust with just being a resource, I
Mhm.
think.
And I think one of the important things as well is confidence, and you talked about that.
Yeah.
When you walk in with confidence, people will naturally assume that you understand it. Even though maybe you don't understand it to the full picture, you have a little bit with the data, but with the experience that you lack, you can make that up with, "Hey, this is how I see it." You walk in with that authority, and a lot of agents, you can have the experience, you can have the education, but sometimes if you don't sound like the authority,
Yeah.
it's just hard for people to trust that.
Yes, and if your opinion you just don't you're not agreeable with everything either. I don't agree with everything. So I think being able to present another side of a situation. But yeah, I think confidence matters. I mean, I'll run into the dark. Like I'm not afraid. And and having difficult conversations.
Mhm.
But when someone knows that you're gonna run through a brick wall for them, like they can feel it.
Yeah.
And they know, okay, I'm in good hands. I have their back and they know it. And that means a lot to me. I think that's probably the most rewarding part.
Mhm. When you started off, was there anyone that was, I guess, a mentor to you or guiding you along, like, "Hey, look out for this"?
Yes, yes, I think that's big in any sales job is to have a mentor. Chris Gregory is our broker at Rolls Realty, and he's the reason I'm with the brokerage.
Mhm.
Just his experience, and he's really patient, and he's really kind about the way that he delivers coaching and he sees things differently. And I think if you surround yourself with people that are stronger than you in areas that and you're willing to learn. Like I've always been very coachable, and
Mhm.
I think that has helped me succeed. Um, and he's been an awesome coach. I could call him right now and he would answer the phone. If he's not in a meeting, he will pick up the phone for me.
Mhm.
So he's been awesome.
Is there a reason why you chose Rolls Realty? Because that it's not the most, well-known brokerage out there.
Yeah, yeah, it's a small boutique brokerage,
Yeah.
and I had worked for such large companies for so long that it felt right because it feels like a family environment. So it felt like the right next step for me, culturally.
Mhm.
And then just he was the differentiator for me. I needed someone that was strong that could put me in check because I have a lot of, like, I have a big personality and I want to win, but not at all costs. But I want, I'm a driver,
Mhm.
and he's just he kind of released me and kind of guided me, but he never like put me in a box. And so, from the moment I met him, I knew that he was the right leader for me. So, and we have we have a lot of top performers that, I mean, if you started to look at the top performers in the city, you would start to see, now that you've had some exposure to Rolls Realty, you'd
Yeah.
say, oh my gosh, that's where Tina works.
Yeah, I've seen the agent's results. I just haven't seen like the brokerage. It's not, I mean, it's not national like
No,
Emax.
no,
It's
we're
not like
local. Yeah, yeah,
it's you guys have the Dublin office and then
yeah, we're local.
can you tell me when you started off, was there a moment where you were thinking like, man, I want to get back into tech. I want to get back into medical.
I had a lot of success there, and there's a difference. There's a different mindset. So when you work for a company and you have a very high base salary, I mean, you wake up and you are making X amount of dollars no matter what. Like,
Mm.
there's the comfort of knowing that you have a base salary and then a really aggressive comp plan. So there's, um, y- you know that if you do these things for this organization, you're going to make, a certain amount of money.
Guaranteed at least, like the base.
Sure, yes. And then you get into real estate, nobody's paying you to do anything. You don't get paid until the transaction closes. You're a contractor. So it's not like I wake up and I have money in the bank. There's no money in the bank until we close transactions. So, and I'm not employed. Like, I don't get paid for anything that I do up until the transaction closes,
Mhm.
and then it comes to it all, everything goes to the brokerage, and then I get paid. So, that was something that takes a lot of getting used to. But the freedom of waking up and not feeling like I had to answer to a corporation was the best feeling. That when I went full time, it just it was just, like, so powerful that
Mhm.
I'm in control of my time, and
Your paycheck is completely in control in your hands basically.
it's in my hands. I don't really have control of it.
Well, I mean, it's more of the effort that you put in, and
All
eventually that
me.
effort will come back
Yes.
as long as you go through the right things.
Yeah, there's a difference when you chase a number for an organization, like you'll have forecast meetings. What's your forecast? Where are you to goal? You're constantly checking on, your performance and measuring it, and then the next quarter comes and they set the goal higher. Like, the goals are constantly moving, and when you run your own business, s sometimes to your detriment, you're like, I'm a pedal down girl, like, I'm always like, "Rawr," like, it's full, it's on, and so it has been a little bit. I work more,
Mhm.
and so trying to control that, trying to find that balance is tricky, but that's a weakness in me, is that I don't turn it off, and I that's something I'm working on, is trying to find that balance.
Is it a struggle at first when you started off investing in yourself in a sense? I mean, with a corporation, they have the marketing, they have, I don't know how exactly your job worked there, but they back you up. When you're a realtor, yes, your brokerage will help you market, but now you have to put in money to grow in your own business, and that's a little different.
It's a lot different.
How'd you get used to that and like investing in yourself and your business?
I think trial and error. Somebody will call you and say, "Hey, you should be doing this," and you're like, "Oh, maybe I should be doing that." Try that. Measure return on investment. Did I get any business out of that? Did I get any exposure from that? Yes or no? No, I'm not doing that again. So I think some of that is trial and error. And then you have to set a budget. You have to just at some point say, I have spent as much money as I feel comfortable this year in marketing. And if if you're busy,
Mm.
business is good, then you can kind of back off of the marketing a little bit. But Yeah, it is a big shift. And
Yeah.
it's all on your own expense. Nobody's writing you a check for anything. It's your own, you're running your own business.
Yeah, was there a fear starting off of like, hey, maybe I don't know if I want to invest in it could be postcards or social media
Yeah.
marketing or anything like that, or was it you were just like, hey, I gotta do something?
Yes, it is scary because you just don't know what's gonna work,
Mm,
and you do have to start somewhere, um, but, I am lucky that, uh, my husband's been really supportive, and when I said I'm gonna get licensed, he said, "Okay." Like, "Oh, okay, here we go." And then he's like, "What's your plan?" I said, "Well, I don't really have a plan." So that's kind of scary for him because I was leaving a really successful career of income. And so we made some adjustments. And when I decided to go into real estate full time, he was like, just be yourself and things will work out. And so, past performance is the best predictor of future performance. So I knew that if I applied all of those skills and took the same approach that I did in the previous sectors, that
mm.
that I would be successful, and so I just trusted that.
One thing that you mentioned with your corporate career is that it's very forecast, it's systematized. Your people are checking with your goals. Did you take any of that over to your real estate career with, hey, I'm going to set this goal. I'm going to go after this amount of people every single week, or is it every day? How did you set up like your plan for real estate?
I wish I could say, "Yes, I'm so structured and these are my goals," and I did not, but I will tell you that 0 is a terrible multiplier. That's, like, so I don't say I don't say no to very much.
Mhm.
So I chase everything, but I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned in sales is trying to figure out if this is gonna come together or not. Are they ready? Are they willing and ready and able? Like, is this where are they in their journey, in home buying? And I kinda put them, so if someone, it falls in that high bucket, I will work them with them, I'll work to get them as a client, and then I will, you know, go after it for them and get it done. So I don't have a goal for the year. Like, I always wanna do better than the previous year,
Yeah.
but there are, real estate's up and down. And so, when it's really busy, I try not to complain that I'm busy, because then you're like, "Oh, well," when you're not busy, you're like, "Oh, I wish I was busy," so you just like
Yeah.
stay focused on the things you can control.
Were you surprised by how busy you would be as a real estate agent? Was that like something that kind of shocked you, or you were kind of used to it already by then?
I was surprised because you just don't know. You don't know. Like you said, some of it's skill, some of it's being in the right place at the right time. And then I didn't know if I was gonna be able to replace the income that I had made in previous careers. And so that was really, really rewarding, is that, I went from nothing to, having selling 9 million that first year was it's kind of like, "Oh, I think I can do this."
Hmm.
Um, so
What would you recommend for new agents starting out? I mean, because I've talked with some agents that start out and it's not the same like you. So I'm interested. How do you advise people that are just getting into this market? They're struggling.
yeah,
What would you say to them?
I think you have to have a good mentor. I think you have to be willing to put in the work. I think I worked a lot of open houses, and you got to find people where they are, and constantly learning. So, I don't have all the answers. I'm listening in. I'm in a transaction. One of the things that I learned from technology sales is we would rip a deal. So if something fell apart,
Mm,
we were like, okay, we'd get a team together and we'd figure out what went wrong, what could we have done differently, how will we do this the next time, and how will we be better. And so it's just kind of like a team of best practices, of people that would provide best practices. And I think that helps. And as a new agent, you don't have any stories to tell. So you need to listen to what uh, the success someone else has had, and you can use that story as, well, in our brokerage, we had a client. You can use a we. You don't have to say I,
mhm.
but you can connect with people in a way that you can use somebody else's story that you're aware of to show that you understand the process and the challenges, and that's a way to build trust. You're not taking credit for it, but you're taking credit for the knowledge of what went down, and I think that's valuable. People will say, "Oh, she gets it."
Mhm. Ho
Um,
how do you, I guess, discover underlying motives of people? Because like, sometimes there's always, like, like, a seller is like, "Oh, I want this added on," or it's like a buyer's like, "Hey, I wanna buy this house, but only if they go and pay for the siding or something extra."
oh,
And it's in reality, it's usually not over that. How do you help discover, like, "Hey, this is the real concern of them," or, "This is the real motivation?"
yeah, I think every person is different, which is pretty cool. And throughout the process, it's not something that just happens in one point in time. It's a buildup. So it's the time spent with each client, and then I think one of the biggest challenges is setting and managing expectations, whether you're representing a seller or a buyer. So I try to get ahead of those things, and I educate my clients throughout the process,
Mm,
so that they know what's coming. These are the scenarios we could face, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But just managing their expectations, because to your point, like they sometimes clients want more than the deal will allow. And
yeah.
so how do we get the most for our clients out of the deal so that everybody feels like, okay, it's a win for everybody. So I think it's just time spent with them and listening.
Mhm.
That's what sales is mostly about, is just listening. You have
Yeah.
to be quiet to listen.
Mhm. Yeah, I heard a general tip. It's like, if you're talking more than them, you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah, you're losing.
Mhm. One thing is also because you started out 2021. I mean,
Yeah.
very, very different market than 2025, where we're in right now. And right now, it's more of, hey, sellers. Now it's focused on being able to go and push it out to buyers who are a little more nervous to buy compared to 4 years ago. How has your strategy changed with your clients?
It's definitely a different market, and people will say, "Oh, wow, you're so lucky to be in real estate during COVID times." I'm like, "What? Are you kidding me? There's no inventory." Like, there are the buyer pool was enormous.
Mm,
So it was great to have listings because everybody was fighting for them. But
yeah.
if you were representing buyers, you were losing a lot. And so that gets heavy for people. So yeah, now the market has shifted and interest rates are higher. So, and buyers have still been pooling because inventory's been low, but now the cost of money is up. So people are very hesitant. So people move for different reasons, and it's not always a joyful time for people that are in transition. And I think that's a common misconception, that everybody is selling a house and they're happy and they're upgrading, and they're not. There's a lot of sadness and emotional um, ties to situations that are going on in real estate. People lose loved ones,
Mhm.
their relationships fail, financial hardship, people relocate. Not everybody in the family is happy when you're relocating. So you're navigating, those inner family dynamics by trying to keep everybody happy. So this market with high interest rates and low inventory, I tell people that the people that are moving right now are people that really want to move or have to move.
Mhm.
And so um, it's finding the right fit, especially if they're moving within our market. If they're moving across town, for example,
Yeah.
like there has to be a really good reason that they want to move across town, because they're probably sitting on a 3% interest, mortgage rate right now. If they bought, because a lot of people refinanced
Mhm.
previously, so it's client specific.
Mhm. And then when you started out with real estate, and you're just getting what was that point when you were like, "Hey, I could do this, like, I'm sticking to this, like, that's it," or was it from the very start that you were like, "Hey."
I think like, when I sold $5 million, that first $5 million mark, that
Mm.
milestone, I was like, "I think I can do this. I think I got this." Yeah.
Was there any home sales where you were like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, how, like, everything is just upside down?"
That happens, yes. yeah, when things like the sky is falling, right? And
Yeah.
so I think in transactions that are circling the drain, you just I just always make sure they know it's not about me and there's comfort in that. So if you get selfish, like these transactions are not about realtors. Like we are the liaison. We're the leaders, we're guiding it, but it has nothing to do with me. And in terms of like, I'm not ever trying to sell my client if I'm representing a buyer, sell them on the property and keep the deal alive because of me, because there's a commission at the end of it.
Yeah.
It's not about the money. So if you get in real estate because of the money, you've made a bad decision. For me, it's about winning for people. So I take that competitive drive and like, okay, well, let me go to work for you. Let me take this on for you, and winning for people is, is winning. So the difference between this and previous role, I mean, that was winning for a company, but now I get to put those skills
Mhm.
to help people.
As you moved on and now you're, I mean, 5 years in, do you see yourself now in the position of helping newer agents and being able to advise them, or is that something you still feel like you need more experience?
No, I think I could provide, coaching and mentoring to new agents. Um, I just haven't, roles really like it's a different model. And he normally doesn't take on new agents because we don't have the same training. And I think that new agents are better served with the larger brokerages because they have systems in place to learn the business. They put you on a team, and I just didn't need that coming from my background. I didn't need to learn how to sell. I just needed to learn the business.
Mhm.
So we just don't have that environment. I mean, we help each other,
Yeah.
but we don't have a mentorship set up. So, but yeah, I think that no, I enjoy that. I've done that in the past.
And then now that I think about it with systems, and you brought that up, how did you organize yourself starting off? Because when you go, I mean, when you're in that corporate sales, it's you come into the office. Here, I mean, you do have an office, but you don't necessarily need that. How did you help organize yourself for success?
Well, I had worked remotely with those jobs, so I didn't come in. I didn't have an office, so I was used to working from home and working remotely. So really, it's identifying, like I said before, of identifying the people that are ready and building those relationships and leveraging those relationships, because it is, at the end of the day, it's all about that. That's what gets you hired, is that relationship.
Mhm.
So I think, how do I stay ahead of the trends? And you hear people like, oh, I have a coach. I don't have any of that stuff. So maybe I would be better if I could get that, get more organized or have somebody else look at what I'm doing. But we've been pretty busy, and so yeah, I don't know
Mhm.
if I have any good tips on
Okay.
organization.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's just interesting because it seems like you just came in and you have the sales skills and you have been able to use those to your advantage, where it's some agents, they come in and they struggle because it's like that freedom of being able to do whatever you want.
Oh,
And that's the biggest thing, where it's like, because one thing you talked about is being able to know people, and there's also another issue of like, hey, like, how do you deal with realtor networking events? Like,
yeah.
like, how important what kind of emphasis do you put on those? Because it's like, I mean, there's a ton of happy hours you could go to, a ton
Yeah.
of golf outings,
Yes.
and how do you place weight on those?
I I have attended those. I think it's important to have relationships with other realtors because we're ultimately going to work together at some point. And I find that with clients, it's a consulting role, but I have to sell myself to the other realtors on the other side of the transaction.
Mhm.
So I find that I'm consulting clients, giving them guidance, but then when it comes to representing them, I'm selling myself and I'm selling my client and our situation. We're kind of a pair. And so it's best to be like to go to those events and to meet people, and then the next time you're in a situation where maybe I'm writing an offer and that listing agent, I had just met them, all of a sudden, I can draw on that recent communication that we had, or if we had just met, just that relationship, and build on it, and hopefully I made a positive impact on them. But it matters because, you know, people we want a transaction that's going to get to the finish line, and we
Mhm.
want to know that the person on the other side of the transaction is going to work diligently to get their client where they need to be, and the communication is going to be high. So I think those are very valuable, is to go to events. Now there is a point where you could go to, I mean, like you said, there's a lot of events. Like, I'm not a drinker, so you won't catch me out past 9 p.m. Like, if it's late, I'm like, I get up at 5 a.m. So,
Yeah.
I have to check myself sometimes. My husband and I are up at 5, and I'm on my phone, and then I'm like, whoa, probably shouldn't be texting. That's way too early. But I'm like up and I'm ready to go. So, but after 9, I'm like, I'm out because it's over. So I don't attend anything after 9. Those evening events aren't for me.
Yeah. And then, because you mentioned this also earlier in the podcast with figuring out a balance for being a realtor, how has that evolved? Because when you start out in that first year, it's like, yeah, I'll take anything.
Yes,
Let's go. How has that changed for you? Are you still in that mentality, or is it?
I am. I am. I will. I chase everything.
Mhm.
I have fired clients. So it's not always a fit.
Yeah.
I'm not so successful that I only work with, I choose who I work with. That was that was a quote.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I mean, I will. I have said no once,
Hmm.
but and like I said, I fired a couple clients, but that was just. I think you have to be willing to walk away,
Hmm.
and know your value. But I mean, I don't have like some people say, well, I don't work with first time home buyers, or I only want. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Well, like, I want to help everybody. Like,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, one thing I'm interested in is with the way your career started out right now, what is the goal to, I guess, as a realtor? Is it to just for you to have the largest impact or eventually have a team that has the largest
Mm.
impact?
I don't envision having a large team.
Mhm.
I mean, I spent 25 years in healthcare sales. This is kind of my second career. I'm not going to be doing this forever,
Mhm.
So, I would like to retire early, and so my plan is to just keep doing this. It's rewarding, um, and then we'll see kind of in the next 5 years what the
Mhm.
next thing is. So,
And then do you see yourself ever tapering off of growth? Because for right now, you have pretty aggressive growth goals.
yeah.
Do you see it ever being like, hey, I mean, and now at this point, if I wanted to reach this level of success, I have to get at least like some administrative support, maybe another agent to help me. If you had to make that choice, would you?
Well, I did. So my best friend from 8th grade is Emily Saylor, and she's licensed and she's on my team. And she makes a huge impact in my business. So she supports me administratively, and you'll see her at open houses for me. If we've got 5 listings where we can't be at all 5 of them. So
Yeah.
we divide those up, and it's been awesome, to have her. So, I that was a couple years ago. We've been working together for about 3 years now. So that's made a huge impact. But I don't want to add too much at once because,
Mhm.
I think we've got a good growth here. So
What was the decision to start off a team?
it was more about I just can't do it all. I was overwhelmed with the amount. I just didn't have enough time.
Mhm.
And so I reached that breaking point of I can't get it all done, and which is a great place to be.
Yeah.
And so Emily, um, I always tease her that she's my left hand because she's left-handed. So she's my right hand, but she's amazing, and I'm lucky to be able to work with my best friend since 8th grade. She's
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys stayed all this time.
I know.
And she
Grr.
and she moved all the way from where.
She moved from Greenville
Oh,
to
wow.
Columbus. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yep.
And then one thing, okay, because I looked through your listings and everything, just your whole entire profile. You are very much in the newer home building space. Is there a reason for that?
Well, I think when I was licensed, I moved into a neighborhood in Evans Farm, which was all new construction. I learned a lot about the build process, and I think just naturally being in that neighborhood, really helped me understand. that particular side of the business. So yeah, so I help clients build houses. I mean, I do a lot of resale, but it was really beneficial to learn from that experience and that time there.
Mhm. Yeah. And then I guess how do you approach with real estate, and do you look, I mean, the future for Columbus with like Intel, Andrew, all of these factories that are coming in, is there any way that you try to, I guess, prepare yourself for the influx of people? I mean, from what I've heard, it's going to be a lot of people coming to
It's
Ohio.
gonna be a lot. I think just being aware of the different pockets of I think of different pockets of new build areas and having a relationship with each of the builders. So depending on the builder, that a lot of builders have representatives that can cross sell into neighborhoods, and I love that model because I have a point person at that particular builder, so I can call on that person and say, you know, w- send me your inventory list, tell me a little bit about these neighborhoods, and they can help bring me up to speed so I'm not doing all of the legwork myself. So that's a great partnership. So that's helped me a lot too. So I think that's a big one. Is just where's the new construction happening, and what pockets are popping up.
Hmm. Yeah, it's with Columbus, it seems like such a interesting time right now, especially to be a realtor, because there's now you're looking at it and it's like the future is so bright, and it's like how do you put yourself in a position where you can take advantage of that? But then it's like also seems so far off, like with Intel, it's not opening up fully, I think, until 2030, right?
Yeah.
So it's just how can you go and put yourself, hey, I'm going to be able to go and put myself as a point of contact for these people and be able to go and show them this is what I can do for you. Uh,
Yeah, I think you just continue doing the things that you know have worked for you. So like I take the same approach with every client,
mm,
regardless of what price point we're shopping. And the same goes for listings. I know that when I do these 5 things,
mhm.
that we win, and so I go in and I do these 5 things and we win.
Yeah.
So I think keep, if it's worked,
Mhm.
continue those efforts.
How do you market yourself as a realtor in being able to stand out different from other people? Because a lot of realtors, it sadly, it's a lot of almost the same things. Like, hey, I'm number one in this region. I'm number one on this team. I'm number one in this brokerage.
Yeah.
I have the service. I have the history. How do you help yourself stand out?
I haven't spent as much time in the social media space as others have. So that's something that I'm focused on, and thank you for inviting me to your broadcast. This is my first one.
Yeah.
Um, so I know that I could do a better job in that space. And it's really word of mouth. And then, like I said, I meet a lot of people for the first time. A lot of sounds weird, but strangers. Um, so I could do a better job in that space. I think when you see somebody that is very active on social media, the first thing I'm like, I want to listen. Like, wow, what's their performance like?
Hmm.
Are they just advertising, or are they really practicing real estate? And sometimes you find, wow, they're killing it. They really are practicing real estate.
Yeah.
And other times you're like, oh, well, they don't have any listings.
Yeah.
So like I want to know I don't know the answer to that, but I would love to know what's the balance between, spending your time at marketing and I know just the content for videos even. I did my first video on a property,
Hmm.
and I spent a lot of time prepping for it, and I just thought, well, it would have been nice if somebody just give me the content and I could just practice it, the script, and I know some brokerages have people full time that do production, but
Hmm.
I don't know. That's definitely an area that I would love to see if that makes an impact more,
Hmm.
to help market myself.
What about through community outreach? Have you been able to position yourself in the community through various, like it could be festivals or just helping out? Is that been a strategy that you've tried?
I have tried that. That has worked in the past. And I think I've purchased Ohio State football schedules. Like I've done some old school print
Yeah.
Advertising, which I'm not tracking back to a lot of return on investment on that, but you don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe somebody heard some of that advertising. So I like I said, you kind of spend money and then you kind of wait and see if it comes back to you. And if somebody calls me out of the blue, I'll ask them, "How did you hear about me?" And so if it comes back, "Well, we heard that you were on the radio." I'm like, "Oh, good. My God, that worked."
Have you been on the radio?
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't me. It was an ad. Like they read an ad about,
Oh, okay. I was
does
thinking.
that do people listen to the radio? I feel like
I mean, I know one realtor that has been successful in radio, so
okay.
that's the only one, but she's very well known in Columbus.
Okay.
So you would definitely know her.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
tell you after. But other than that, I don't think there's anyone. It's like it's interesting because a lot of realtors like still have the same like this could be postcards or community events,
Yeah.
and it's like how do you evolve into that next stage of letting people know about you
Yeah.
while still trying to sell homes, while still trying to make sure you're saving face in front of your clients.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about your favorite transaction? Like, what was it?
Oh, geez, I don't know. That's a hard one to pick a favorite one.
Has there ever been just like a story where it's like, dang, wow, I was like really happy I could help these guys. It just worked out perfectly for them.
Yeah, I think a lot of let me think about that. I get like it fills my heart when I get to help people make a transition that's difficult. So, I had a client who had a spouse pass away, and the house was like they had lived there for 30 years, and for the last 2 years, um, this client had stuff accumulate, and so it was a big like, it was an emotional lift, and so helping him transition to kind of a nursing home and then letting him know that I'm gonna take care of all of this for you. Like, let me take this on for you, and so that's probably those are my favorite, transactions when I get to roll my sleeves up and, like, just make that transition as smooth as possible when when it's a sad time.
Hmm.
I think that fills my heart. So, I
Yeah.
have a couple of those examples where we've had to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about with investing real estate? Have you thought about it since I mean, you're a realtor, you're on the MLS. I mean, you see everything that
Yeah.
comes on there. Is there ever been a time where you're like, "Oh, maybe I'll snatch this property up?"
Yeah, I think about it. I feel like, if I wanna retire in 5 years, I feel like the whole rental buy and hold for me, I feel like I might be too old. Like, I'm thinking if I wanna cash out and retire, if I'm on a 5-year plan, it probably doesn't make sense for me, but I it's so tempting. We move every 2 to 5 years, so I'm like, "Oh, well, that's nice. Let's buy that and move here." So, but we haven't spent any of our resources investing in real estate, and we should. And my broker's always saying, "You need to be doing this because it's the best place to park your money, especially in our market because we live in such a bubble." I mean, the national numbers are very different than ours, and for the next 10 years, it's gonna be a very strong market here. So, yeah, I get tempted, but I haven't done that yet.
I guess.
Um,
Yeah, it's just it's always interesting to see like, hey, is it worth for a realtor to go in? I mean, it has the results, but then it takes away your time, and especially with rentals, like something can happen,
yeah,
and now you're just focused on it. It's like, huh.
but somebody's paying your mortgage, like, somebody's covering the expenses, so it's a great place to park your money.
But then it also comes down to it. Sometimes you'll get someone that like maybe they won't pay their mortgage or they'll
Of
cause some.
course. Oh, yeah, or they'll destroy the house, like, there's always that risk, but I think the majority of the time,
Mhm. Yeah.
it's a good place to put your money.
Do you deal have you seen any increase in fear of buying or maybe selling just because of now it's like, hey, what if there like something happens in politics or with around the world? Have you seen any of that occur?
I think we always see that in an election year. It's always a tricky time as it gets towards a main election. But I think people have concerns and even in non-election years about what's going on in the world and where are interest rates, how is this going to affect our money? I mean, those are all normal stressors.
Mhm.
So sometimes buying and selling a house is a nice distraction from that. So
I mean, yeah, it gives you something else to think about. So that makes sense. Yeah. Well, one thing is for, I guess, for people that are now in their corporate careers and they're thinking about maybe going down the same path that you're on, where they quit and are now a real estate agent. What would be your recommendation for them? What would be your maybe even a warning for them before they think about getting like quitting their job, putting the 2 weeks in, get the real estate license?
yeah, I think there are a lot of misconceptions about real estate. I think that like, it's not glamorous. Like, it is not what you see on television. Everything that you see on TV is a production and it's scripted. So it's not like HGTV. We don't just sit around and write up a contract and sit back and cash checks. Like there's a lot of work. I think in order to be successful, you've got to be willing to be available. And I don't know that I would be able to be a realtor part-time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be challenging for me because of my personality. But being available is really part of like you're on call. Like you, and if you're not, people think that they don't know what you're doing,
Mm.
which is interesting because we don't get paid until till we close deals. But I'm
Yeah.
here for you. Like you call me, I'm going to answer. Um, but I think like know that it's more work than you think that it is. And it's not just about finding the house. And there are so many things that go into supporting a client throughout the process. My favorite compliments are when people say, "You did what for your client?" Like, "Yeah, I did that." Um, or they'll say, "I never met a realtor like you." And I'm like, "Well, thank you. That means a lot to me." So somebody that's trying to get into the business, be prepared to work and be prepared to do things that other people are not. And that may be pulling weeds and mulching, and that may be doing things that are task related to get a listing ready. Cleaning the toilet, like
Yeah.
roll up your sleeves and be. So those are I think those are things um, that people appreciate, that you go above and beyond
Mm-hmm.
to provide the service. And like you'll hear people talk about concierge service. I'm like, I will be there. Like I'm going to show up and we're gonna clean your toilets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to clean your toilet, but I will.
Yeah. If it helps, then I mean, for sure.
Got to get it ready. Whatever it takes. Yeah.
One thing I've always I always get debates about this and I'm interested. Do you think everyone could be, I mean, obviously not everyone could be a real estate agent, but do you think that people that put in the effort, put in the time that they could get to the point where they're successful in it? Or is there anything that you think some people are just born with it and they're able to be more successful because
That's interesting. I think you can be successful with all different types of background. It's like career wise. Um, it is in the end, it's a sales job,
hmm
and so if you aren't comfortable having difficult conversations and asking for the business and closing people and understanding what that means,
hmm
um, I don't think that it's a good fit. But I do think that if you're coachable and you can learn the process, and I think that everybody could be successful if they were willing to work on skill sets that lead to that.
hmm
Um, but
ask for the sale is a very that's one that I've seen that people struggle with where it's
yeah,
like
it's uncomfortable.
yeah, because you and it's like
Would you
they
agree?
yeah, well, that's
See?
because when you go and do it, yeah, I know, I instantly notice. No, when you do it and it's just like that's what establishes you as an advisor versus just someone that talks about houses.
Yes.
And a lot of people just they're like, well, it's up to the buyer, it's up to the seller. Well, that's not why you're getting paid for it.
Well, and if you can provide that different point of view, so like I said, I don't ever push on clients. I can get a feel for, it's yeah, maybe there's something happens in inspection. So this is a good one. Um, and it it seems like it's very heartbreaking for the buyer. Like, oh, this is going to be a very large expense. Um, and so we need to go through the process and figure out what is it going to cost and who's responsible for that. And if if we get to the point where it is a large expense and the buyer feels like they're not responsible, then we have to go to the seller. Like it's just navigating that, but
Mhm.
being respectful. And I think that's really key to working both sides of the transaction. But and I always put my clients first, and they know it, and just try to get the best outcome for them. And then sometimes it's they have to give a little. Um, so
What about the aspect of being pushy? I know a lot of salespeople, they're nervous, like, I don't wanna come off as pushy,
yeah.
but how do you balance that with being able to advise your clients for what's in their best interests?
Yeah, I think that's in any sales job too. You can feel somebody being pushy, and you have to figure out are they being pushy or are they being assertive. Um, I think there's a way to lead through that, and it's how you talk to people
Mhm,
because it's how you say things. Um, and if they know why you're asking for whatever you're asking for, I think you know that transparency lessens the feel of, oh, Tina's being pushy.
mhm,
She's aggressive. So I think that they know, no, she's getting shit done.
yeah,
There's a difference.
mhm. There's a difference between just being kind of a person that just drives around with them in houses, and it's more of just, hey, showing them this is from what we have talked about, bringing up what you have listened to and being able to show them, hey, this is what you wanted.
Yeah.
So, and do you ever get that aspect where it's like, hey, um, how do you help, I guess, clients that are indecisive, that are just people that they just see the houses, they get overwhelmed, and you know that they this is a house that could work for them, but they just are thinking about everything. They're like, okay, maybe let's go to the next one, and you know it's just constantly going to be that circle.
Yeah, I think setting expectations that if you find a house that's a resale and it meets 80% of your needs, you should strongly consider it.
Mm,
We're not gonna find perfection. If we build a new house, if money didn't matter and they could build whatever house they wanted to, we would get to the end of that process and they would reflect on it and say, "Oh, I wish I had this." Like, you can't even build perfection.
mm,
So, I think setting those expectations, and if we're out and about and we've seen a lot of houses, I think there's time to sit down and say, "Okay, let's regroup and figure out, maybe this isn't the right time for you to buy a house."
mhm,
But I think that indecisiveness, you have to figure out, you just have to figure out what's motivating that. Maybe they're just really not ready at all, or they're looking for perfection and they have to understand that perfection doesn't exist. So yeah, I think it's helping manage those expectations.
mhm. Oh yeah. And then I guess as our last question, one thing I'm really interested in is, would you recommend this career to, I guess, your friends, your close family? What would you recommend this to them?
I would, yes, but with the understanding that, it is, it takes away from a set schedule. So you have to be prepared to be flexible. And my family is so supportive. I mean, there are times when we have things planned. Like we have a family, something going on at Sunday at 2 o'clock. And then out of nowhere, a client that I'd been working with, a house gets listed. And it's gonna be something that is gonna go fast. And I have to decide, am I gonna go to this family thing at 2 o'clock, or am I gonna go help this client win this transaction? So I think if you accept the fact that real estate is highly inconvenient,
Mhm,
um, and that your family understands that, I think that you know, you'll it'll be easier for you to transition into a world where you're on call all the time. But it's the reward of helping those people that, like, it's so worth it. Like, I always tell my husband, like, "Oh, my heart is full." Like, that brings me joy. He's like, "Ah, I don't know why you like painting. I don't know why you like painting so much, but okay." So, yeah, I would recommend it, but I would say go into it with eyes wide open, that it's not it's not glamorous,
mm.
but it is beyond rewarding.
Yeah, because I was gonna add on one more question, but you
Okay,
kind of
go ahead.
answered it.
No, go ahead.
I mean, the biggest thing is like I want to know like what drives you to continue doing, like you talk about like the Sunday at 2 p.m. you have to go and leave the family event, and it's
Yeah.
like what drives you to continue doing that, especially when you had a career that was more safer, and was it was it more than just like, hey, for the freedom? Like what drives you to continue doing this job and like all the struggles that come with it?
People are so appreciative. Like, it changed like, you change somebody's life. Like, these transactions, like, they're in major transition. They're spending the most money they'll ever spend, and they're trusting you with it. And it like, at the end of it, when we get it done, like, they're like, "We couldn't have done that without you." And I'm like, "I'm gonna do that again. That feels really good." Like, and then I just run through a brick wall again. Like, it's, it's the relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think that's a great way to end it off.
Thank
I love hearing the passion behind what is real estate. And it's not just because a lot of people think it's like a numbers game, like all the real estate agents are just trying to make money.
Yeah.
But the help and the impact that you have on people's lives is something that a lot of people won't forget.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
I thank you for coming on, Tina, sharing your experiences with us, and looking forward. Maybe in 2 to 3 years, or you said you're looking to retire in five
I
years.
hope so.
We'll invite you back on just to get a review of the
Okay.
whole entire career. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.